Something you long believed to be true but realized wasn't.
Well, as one of the main opponents of the Illuminati, I always wanted to know what information they had that we didn't.
Now we finally have an update on the drowning death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Now, according to ABC7, they stated that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Now, the article goes on to say that Warner had drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday.
Life, it's fragile, and in the blink of an eye,
you never know.
You never know. So speaking of legacy, what do you hope that your legacy is going to be?
There is part of me that I will be able to leave this earth, knowing and people knowing that I was a good person.
Katt Williams has been saying it for years. If you don't play Hollywood's game, especially as a black man, they'll shut you out without hesitation. And when you take a closer look at the late Malcolm-Jamal Warner's journey, it starts adding up real fast. Malcolm wasn't out chasing clout. He turned down roles that made black men look foolish. He refused to put on a dress, refused to play the clown, and because of that, they quietly pushed him aside. Not because he lacked talent, the man had it in spades, but because he wouldn't sell out. And now, suddenly that he's gone, media outlets and celebs are all over social media calling him a legend, saying he was criminally underrated. But where was that energy when he was alive? Where were the flowers when he was doing powerful work on his own terms? This ain't about conspiracy clicks. This is about cold, consistent patterns. Katt Williams has been calling this out for years, warning us about how the industry treats those who say no. So now it's time to unpack what Katt been exposing, what Malcolm stood firm on, and why the world only started appreciating him after it was too late.
Because I've spent, so much of the early part of my life listening to being celebrated on one hand, but paying way too much attention to the naysayers.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, best known as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, tragically passed on July 20th, 2025. He was on a family trip in Lemon, Costa Rica, enjoying the ocean with his 8-year-old daughter when a sudden rip current pulled them. The beach is known for dangerous tides and often lacks lifeguards. On that day, there were none on duty. Emergency services had been redirected to other beaches after a string of recent incidents.
These are the first things we saw when we pulled up to the beach. Signs in Spanish and English warning people about potentially hazardous conditions. This sign even giving a roadmap for how to escape a rip current.
Nearby surfers spotted the two in distress. One was able to pull Malcolm's daughter to safety, while another tried to help Malcolm. But by the time first responders arrived, it was too late. Despite efforts to revive him, Malcolm was gone. Cause of death, asphyxia due to drowning. The man who tried to save him was rushed to a local hospital in critical condition. The autopsy later confirmed it was a tragic accident.
Rican Beach, where officials say a dangerous rip current swept away Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the Cosby Show star, drowning in secluded paradise on Sunday. What makes that beach so treacherous?
It's similar to other beaches where there are strong rip currents that are deceiving.
Mike Geist helps run a volunteer lifeguard organization here. He says while no lifeguards were on duty that day, Geist's friend, who happens to be a trained lifeguard, was there to surf and discovered Warner unresponsive in the water. Costa Rica's Red Cross says they were able to rescue another man alive who was taken to a clinic in critical condition.
Rica, Jesse, officials say Warner's autopsy is now complete.
It was completed this morning, according to authorities, Tom, and they say that it confirmed that Warner's drowning death was, in fact, an accident.
What hit so many people hardest was that Malcolm wasn't just another Hollywood name. He was one of the few child stars who grew up with integrity and stayed solid. He didn't spiral, didn't sell out. He built his wealth the right way, became an Emmy-nominated actor, a Grammy-winning musician, a respected poet, director, and social activist. He had a real marriage, never divorced, and was a committed father. No scandals, no mess. The kind of legacy you rarely see.
So even before conception, we were very clear we were having a girl. And I knew that I needed a girl first to kind of ease me into it, because I have a pretty good idea of what kind of father I would be. So I needed a girl to kind of, slow me down and warm, soften me up, if you will. So for me, raising my daughter, I came into fatherhood already with a certain maturity and certain understanding of male-female dynamics. And with a girl, all of that starts with the father. So I've always, since I literally pulled her out of my wife.
Malcolm earned the love of just about everyone who worked with him. He was the blueprint for how a confident man moves in silence. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, he dies in a freak accident at 54 after decades of good health while on vacation in literal paradise with his family. The only tragedy in Malcolm's story is that his time was cut short. Otherwise, he lived with purpose and dignity. But here's where it gets real. We have to talk about how Hollywood treated him like he didn't exist while he was alive. Because like Katt Williams warned, if you don't play the industry's game, they act like you vanished. Malcolm didn't fall off, he just refused to be a caricature. After The Cosby Show, he could have gone the sitcom route, the big network shows, the goofy movie cameos. But he stayed intentional. He said no to roles that turned black men into jokes. No dresses, no stereotypes, no buffoonery. He stood for something real. And Katt Williams, he's been yelling this exact thing for decades. Through interviews, stand-up, podcasts, he's exposed how the industry boxes black entertainers and forces them into roles that humiliate them.
Some of us make choices. I think it's not a biggest choice for others. I'm saying at the end of the day, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing people before him. So now we have Big Mama's house 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next. Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them. End quote.
We all love Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. Dave Chappelle has never been a part of the Illuminati. They don't want him or me or people like us.
Katt turned down those same gigs, fat suits, wigs, loud coonery. And what did he get in return? Labeled as difficult, branded as unstable, called crazy by the same system that chews people up and spits them out if they don't comply.
There has never been a person that has been parodied 9 times on Saturday Night Live and yet never been invited other than me. I, at this point, take it as a badge of honor that they don't fuck with me. A lot of times when people are doing an impression of you, they're really showing you how they feel about you. You know what I mean? So for Saturday Night Live to have an impression of me and have a woman do that means they think I'm a bitch. And I understand that that's what they're saying when they do that. I understand how the game goes, and I understand that if you love me, I know why you do. And if you don't with me, I understand why.
And just like Katt, Malcolm was brilliant, focused, and principled. But he didn't fit the mold, and he wouldn't perform for the camera, so they left him out. But here's the truth. Malcolm never needed Hollywood's approval. He built without them. He launched a podcast called Not All Hood, where he went deep on how mainstream media constantly paints black people with one brush. He wasn't afraid to challenge the system, and that's exactly why the system ignored him.
For the title is combating the narrative of black life, black culture that the media focuses on, and
that we're all one thing.
Yeah, and the whole concept is we're not all hood. The black community is not a monolith.
But instead of folding to Hollywood's pressures, Malcolm made a bold choice. He focused on meaningful work tied to education and justice. He poured himself into producing and acting in plays and documentaries that highlighted black history and exposed systemic racism. In 2021, he penned a powerful op-ed for the Television Academy, where he didn't hold back. Malcolm called out how white executives, writers, directors, and producers still control most of the black imagery we see on TV. He wrote, "During the cycles where the gate hinges loosen lightly and black creatives are given some input and illusion of control, the stereotypes often continue, even if the black characters are given professions and higher socioeconomic status." Malcolm didn't stop there. He also criticized the direction of modern rap and hip-hop, calling out the misogyny and hypermasculinity, and urging the culture to focus more on healing, growth, and accountability.
There should be a moratorium on both of those words in hip-hop because it's low-lying fruit. It's so easy. Everybody fucking does it to the point that it's corny. Like there are MCs who I love, who I cannot listen to anymore because I love J. Cole. But I had to stop listening to J. Cole because I got tired of hearing nigga and bitch.
as much
every
as
two sentences, because he's proven himself to be such a incredible lyricist.
that you think it's just too low-hanging fruit for him to use those words.
I feel like
negative. When that
Drake beef, which, you know, they talk about how much they hate each other and give all these references to violence and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think, even though we enjoy those songs and they're bops, do you think that has a detrimental impact upon the culture ultimately?
Ultimately, yes. It's been normalized for, you know, us to call ourselves the N-word, right? And we like to talk about how we've taken the power of that word back. But I'm of the school of thought. If I'm trying to speak love and upliftment to my brother, why am I going to borrow a word from people who use the word because they hate me? But we get caught up in, oh, well, we're turning the N-word into a positive. But our music is not reflecting positivity, love, and upliftment of our culture. And we're at a point now where so much of our, especially our music, so much of our black music, when you strip away the music and just listen to the lyrics, so much of our black music is really anti-black.
Oh, you think so?
When you think about it, think of, you know, I mean, you almost cannot have hip-hop without talking about drugs, using the N-word, and murking somebody.
Right.
You know, or calling a female, you know, a bitch or a hoe. Like that's become such we've normalized that so much that I think we need a space where we can say, wait a minute, wait, that's not all who we are.
So when Katt Williams speaks on how the industry only uplifts you when they can spin the narrative in their favor, this right here is a prime example. Malcolm fought to portray black men as complex, intelligent, and deeply human, but the industry wanted him to stick to the safe box, the teen heartthrob, the comedic sidekick. He resisted that. He turned down offers that could have boosted his fame but at the cost of his dignity. Meanwhile, other black actors were blowing up during that same era, not by resisting, but by embracing roles drenched in cliché. Some of them thrived, no hate, but that was never Malcolm's mission. He stayed true, and that decision came with a cost. In fact, in interviews, Malcolm even admitted his own team told him he was too serious, not marketable. Translation: too black, too intelligent, too authentic. And once you don't play along, Hollywood stops picking up the phone. Katt Williams has been calling this out forever. If you refuse to play the clown, if you won't submit to the humiliation ritual, they wipe you from the scene.
I don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about does following the ritual work. Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses, everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not. It's a weird thing. It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully.
But now that Malcolm's gone, suddenly Hollywood and the media are throwing tributes left and right. Social posts, think pieces, articles calling him a legend and trailblazer. But where was all this while he was here? He didn't chase clout. He didn't do the usual Hollywood dance, and because of that, the major platforms and award shows barely acknowledged him. Now you've got streaming giants teasing unreleased Malcolm projects, networks cooking up tribute specials, celebs dropping emotional anecdotes. It's like overnight he became everyone's favorite icon. But that's how the industry operates. They won't praise you for standing on truth while you're alive, but once you're gone, they rush to polish your image for clout, brand value, and brownie points. Katt Williams called this strategy years ago. They only recognize black excellence when it's convenient and when the person's no longer here to speak for themselves. So the real question is this newfound love genuine, or just the usual Hollywood spin psycho because the same system that ignored him is now capitalizing off his name? Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just another face in the crowd, was one of the few who stood rooted in purpose in an industry that glorifies compromise. He picked integrity over image, depth over attention, and that's why they kept him in the shadows until now. His passing isn't just heartbreaking, it's a wake-up call, a reminder that real ones get overlooked until it's too late. But what do y'all think? Was Malcolm pushed aside because he wouldn't play the game? Why does it always take death for the industry to finally care? Drop your thoughts in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one.